I spent $40,000 on products labeled as natural and clean that were still loaded with toxins, and they didn't perform. So here's how I learned to spot the lies and what I do now instead. When I started going clean about 15 years ago, there were not many options at all. I tested everything. Salon professional brands, indie brands, promising all of them promising real results. Not like today where there are amazing brands that actually deliver and there are tons of them out there. Back then, I didn't know what I didn't know. I invested $40,000 in inventory and education that didn't deliver. Products that promised natural and clean but were full of toxins, and education that promised to get me from one point to another that just didn't deliver and kept me kind of reeling and spiraling out because it wasn't solving my problems. And I thought there was something wrong with me. It was a very expensive way to realize that I had to change things, the way I was doing things, but it really taught me exactly what I was looking for. And it also had me create a system that would help me not get in that same trap over and over again. So that mistake made me crystal clear. Clean isn't just what's on the label. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about this again and again, but it really is what's beyond that label. And if I couldn't explain the ingredient to a client in one sentence, then it did not belong in my salon. Everything had to be easy. So I started to see and look for these red flags where I was looking for brands as I was going through, the years after getting burned quite a few times and losing a lot of money. I started to put a system together of things that I was looking for when I was actually looking at new brands to bring on, or even in my own services. I had to make sure that I was being very clear and transparent with my services for my clients. So this lesson taught me what I need to look for, but also how to set my business up so that I wasn't greenwashing or promising too much to our clients that I could not deliver on. So it taught me to look for these red flags. When I'm looking at their website, if I was looking on their website and I see either not a whole lot of ingredients or only the active ingredients, it felt like they were hiding behind either proprietary formulas or only highlighting the ones that were great and clean and more sustainable, which is fine. It's great to see the active ingredients, but I was actually surprised at how many websites don't have the full product list under the product. You can't find it. You have to really go searching for it. And that to me, again, this is my 5 red flags, that to me felt very scammy. It felt very like they were trying to hide. So that's the first thing I always look for, is if their ingredients are not there and transparent and right there on the website where the product is, then it starts to raise a little bit of question for me. So the next red flag I look for is vague marketing language. Terms like 100% clean or sustainable, zero specifications or certifications to back it up. Let me just say with the certifications, big box brands, like the big salon brands that we all know, they have money and resources and everything that they can to have certifications on their products. That being said, there is a ton of really amazing indie brands that simply cannot afford these big name certifications because they cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. And it's not because they're not doing the actual work behind it. Some of these indie brands I've seen are even cleaner and more sustainable than some of the big box brands, but they can't slap the certification on it because they don't have the extra income or money to be able to have some of these certifications. So just because it doesn't have a certification does not mean that it's not a good brand. But what we want to look for is those vague terms. So for me, and I'm sorry, I'm shouting out like Pantene, right? Or Herbal Essence. We see now these big brands that are traditionally not super clean or worried about sustainability. Now they're coming out because it's trendy. They're coming out with paraben-free, non-toxic, clean. They're vague marketing terms, right? And those marketing terms are on the bottle, but if you look at their history, it's not saying the same thing, right? They don't have the certifications, even though they would be a brand that could afford it. So that's the red flag. Like, really look for, is this just something vague that they're talking about? Or is it that they're doing the work and it's truly they're being transparent? And when we're looking for transparency, you want to look at their website, but also hop on their social media and look at their social media. Are they truly walking the walk and talking the talk? Because if they are a clean and sustainable brand, that is deeply rooted in their value system, and they are going to be talking about it on their social medias as well. So looking at the website and the social medias for transparency to actually see if they're walking the walk and talking the talk. I am not a scientist, and I've talked about this before. I'm dyslexic. I flip things around. I can't spell worth anything. And some of these scientific names plus what they actually do to us is very hard for me to memorize. So I have and I've been in this a long time, and I still can't memorize every single one. So for me, I keep a very clear, distinctive value system, which has checklist for everything that has to, or just non-negotiables for my business. And that value system has 7 points. And when I'm looking up different brands, I make sure that they align with that. Even though I can't remember every single ingredient, it does align with my value system. And the value system, the 7-point value system, is something that I teach inside of the Holistic Salon Academy to all of my students to really start to break down what is important to them and have a list that you can easily check in on with any brand that you're looking at. Now, in a go, and when you're hurrying and you're in a store or something like that, you want to have something that also is going to work for you that you can quickly use so that you can check ingredients if you can't remember every single one, right? So I use my phone, really easy at the palm of my hand. It's literally my phone, and you can scan items to see what is good in a hurry, right? If you're in the store and you're trying to figure out what is going to work for you or what these ingredients mean, use an app. There's so many different tools. Now, there is a few of them, which is the EWG's Skin Deep database for basic checks. We also have Think Dirty, How Good for sustainability ratings. But my go-to for ingredients is Switch Natural. And you can actually take a look. I had her on the podcast, and we'll link that episode below. But we had her on the podcast, as well as I think I go through an entire training on the podcast of how to use the Switch Natural or just apps in general. You can go back and look at the episode with Switch Natural, or you can also go back and look at the episode where I talk about the different apps, and I go into a little bit more detail. So these apps are a huge time saver, and it's also what I recommend to our clients, right? Because in my consultation with my clients, we're not just talking about hair. We go much deeper than that. And we're talking about what is clean and sustainable beauty and how can they spot it? Because It's not just what they walk out of the salon with for the products that we carry, but what choices are they making when they're in the big store brands and they're grabbing a lotion? Maybe I don't carry it at all, or maybe they're in a hurry and they need something that they can trust is much cleaner and safer for them. So I teach my clients, I teach my team how to, show their clients how to use these things. Switch Natural is a really easy one. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because with Switch Natural, it is not a scaled system. They're scanning each individual ingredient. And then if something is a red flag with that ingredient, it has a bunch of studies that's attached right there that you can actually do your own research and look at what those studies are and whether that's something that is like a really big deal to you or maybe not, right? So looking at that as a whole, and you get to make your own educated decision versus some of the apps that are like, creating their own rating systems. Well, that's based on their values and what's important to them. Sometimes it may not align, sometimes it will, but this at least gives you an option to make an educated decision. So, with all that being said, how I vet my brands in 10 minutes or less, and that's what I'm talking about, like whether you're sitting down and you're trying to bring something in for your salon, or you're on the go and you're looking for a cleaner, more sustainable product. First, you have to take a look at what is the most important to you. If it's clean ingredients and there's a few different ingredients that you just absolutely do not want to have in your products, keep with those. And if it's sustainability and you're looking at trying to reduce as much plastic as possible, or the first time plastics, it's not upcycled or recycled plastics, then that can be the biggest thing that you look for. But those are the first things that you have to be able to do in 10 minutes for you to just be able to do a deep dive into what's important to you. Check their website. Even if I'm standing in the store, if I'm not in a super hurry, I will pull up my phone and check their website. Just dive a little bit closer into them. And I also check their social media. Do their values, what they stand for, align with who I am, right? And what I want, what is important to me. Then once you have looked at that, what's important to you, looked at their website or their social real quick, then you use your gut, use your intuition. You know whether it is going to work for you or not. And the more that you can start to get in tune with your intuition and what's most important to you, the better off you're going to be. And I do talk about that heavily in my book coming out called Change Worthy, because this is one of the things that has led me to so much success and ease and freedom, is just listening to my intuition. Now, that also being said, remember that you're not perfect. You're not going to make all the right decisions, especially when we're looking at beauty. These things we go through, you're not going to use the same bottle of shampoo or lotion forever, right? After it's done, you get to make another educated decision. So try to do the best you can in the moment. And then in between, research a little bit more. Look at other product lines. I really try not to put myself in positions where I have to make quick decisions in the store. It happens every once in a while. It is what it is. I buy something, and even if it's not the absolute best, then I make a different decision the next time I go to buy something. And it's the same in our salons too. If we're trying out things, you make a decision, you see how it works, and if it works, fantastic. If not, guess what? You get to try again, because we're not trying to be perfect. We are just trying to do one step better than what the choices we made yesterday. So give yourself a little bit of grace. Allow some time, some research, check in with your gut, and that is going to be able to help you figure out how to manage this shift over to cleaner and more sustainable products. Bringing these things in can be very easy. It can also make big mistakes. I mean, I made huge mistakes in the beginning. Like I said, if I add up the education and the products that I bought early on, I probably did about $40,000 worth of mistakes that didn't pan out. But I did not let that stop me from continuing to make changes down the road. Because every single time I bought something that maybe didn't work or didn't pan out the way I thought it would, it still taught me what was most important to me and what I would look for differently the next time around. So give yourself some grace, make some conscious decisions, put a little research into it, and just make that one step. We all make expensive mistakes. As entrepreneurs, it's just going to happen, right? Do not let the past mistakes stop you from making the changes that you know you want to make. So like I said, in Changeworthy, I break this down, the system, and also all the mistakes that I've made over the last 20 some years in the industry. So if you would like to join the waitlist for October 21st, which is the launch of the book, comment Changeworthy below, and we're going to be doing some giveaways, some specials, and just enjoying the launch of this book. So comment Changeworthy below.